Hey, happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. The middle of the week. It's a beautiful week here in San Diego. It's a little overcast, which I like. Not too warm. Well, it's been muggy the last weekend. It was muggy and we had some thunderstorms, but now it's a little more cool and it's breezy and the overcast is here. I love it. Great running weather. Speaking of running, I'm going to start running again today. I took a few days off after the marathon and the soreness has gone down and I think I'm ready to resume my running. So after this, I'm going to take my first run after the marathon. And this is in the raw, unscripted, unpracticed, unedited conversation. And we are talking about intimacy. We started talking about this in the last video and defining what that means. And what it means to be intimate, and we have our own thoughts about what it means. We have our own ideas, but what does the Bible say? How is the Word of God define intimacy? And we said that intimacy brings we ended with this, that intimacy brings favor, brings merit, brings virtue. It brings a benefit to our lives when we are intimate with God and also with other people on different levels. And in order to explain all of this, I want us to go to 1 Corinthians 13. Now, if you know anything about this chapter, you'll know that this is called the love chapter. And it's normally applied to relationships between a couple, between a man and a woman. In fact, it's probably one of the most mentioned Bible passages at weddings when two people are getting married, because the central theme is love. But even though it is the central theme, the Apostle Paul, who wrote this, presents it with a much broader definition of love, and that's what I want to dive into today. And it's not just that love, the love known as eros between a couple, as many think. Many people think it's just has to do with that kind of a love, the eros love, but it's also about the phileo love, the brotherly love, or the brother sisterly love, and definitely agape love, which is God's love. So if we study this passage, we study it well, we will realize that it describes an intimate relationship where these different types of love are present. Many of you are familiar with this chapter. You might have read it or you might have heard it. I'm not going to read it, but you can do that on your own. But what I will touch on is a few highlights from this chapter. And Paul begins describing just how useless, even destructive, spiritual gifts are when not applied from the standpoint of love. That's one of his main ideas here. For example, speaking in tongues, gift of prophecy, knowing, having knowledge and generosity. So he says none of that is good. None of that is useful if it's not done with love. Then he goes on to describe what love is. He uses 14 verbs, that's 14 action words, to describe this love. 7 are positive statements about what love does, and the other 7 are negative statements about what love does not do. For example, he says love is patient, love is kind, but then he also says it is not rude, it is not selfish. So those are 7 positive, 7 negative. And so what Paul is saying is this is God's love. This love according to God's perspective. This is how you should love. This is what Paul is saying. But what I want to focus on is how it ends, how he ends this chapter. So back to the passage we read in the beginning. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these 3 remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. He is saying that God is perfect and we are not. That's what he's saying. You look in the mirror and you don't see perfection, but when I see him face to face, he is perfect. He's saying that God knows we are not perfect and that we are in this process of becoming perfect. So when you accept Jesus Christ, when you start to follow him, and when you start to live according to his word, you start a journey towards perfection. So we are in that process of perfection. And as long as we are in this world, though, as long as we are in this body, in this world, we will not be perfect. We have to understand that until we see him face to face. That's what he's saying. When we see him face to face, we will then be perfect. And here's the point of all of this. The only way to reach perfection is by knowing God. And the way to know God is through intimacy. So that's the only way to know God, through intimacy. And if we want to reach perfection, if we want to reach that one day when we will say, I am now perfect, and that's not going to happen until we see him face to face, though. But if we want to reach that point in our lives, then we need to know God. And the way to know God is through intimacy. And this is where we'll end it today. Next time we will talk more about those three things that he talked about: faith, hope, and love. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Have a great rest of your week.